Hello all. As you enter the virtual event, thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Javid Thomas of Race Equality Matters. It is lunchtime, so please feel free to have your lunch, have your drinks and everything. Want to make this as kind of relaxed as possible. What would be quite nice is if you could introduce yourselves in the chat, phonetically spell your name if you can, your organization, your role, and what you're hoping to get out of today. Just a chance to introduce yourselves and I'm gonna say free publicity for your organization if you mention where you're from. So I can see Caroline, sorry, just the wrong chat button. So I've got 6 people with you, just letting you know, for the breakout rooms, so that's great. Okay, that's I think you'll have to be together if you're on the same computer, so we'll just be mindful of that. So you'll have a busier room, but everyone's got their own, and the questions are all very different, so different opinions will be useful in that. Thank you, Caroline. Of Action for Children. Actually, I'd say that's where I started my charity career. Got Nicola Malta Ricketts from Transport for Wales, Bore. It's the afternoon now. Kerry Hastings from BHSF. So good to see you, Kerry. And thanks for talking on our LinkedIn sometimes or commenting. Got Fiona McNamara from Devon County Council, Advanced Practitioner CHC. Jenny Woodhead, a social worker for over 65. Got Danny Woolley, Service Manager, East Surrey Domestic Abuse Service. Really important work, so thank you for joining us. Helen, I think it's Pedley. I think so. Rojan. Got someone from Cleveland, Ohio, but it's gone past, so that's in the United States. And we've got someone from Shelter. I got Constance. Thank you for introducing yourself. My screen's going really fast. There's so many people here. So what we will do. There's so much rich content. We want to get on with it. Keep introducing yourselves. And I'll just go through what's going to happen today. So today is Race Equality Matters Safe Space Plus workshop, and we'll explain about the plus as we go through the event. We want to start off by acknowledging how significant a date today is. Many of you should know today marks 70 years since the ship HMT Empire Windrush arrived at Tilbury docks with passengers from the Caribbean. It was a truly significant day in British history, and people from all over the country, we know, will be celebrating the contribution of this community to the UK. And we know a couple of our speakers have just rushed from a school where they were talking about it in South Wales, which is fantastic. We're delighted that you've joined us to mark this important day. And so what we'd like to do is show a quick video with yourselves that was produced by another organisation. So thank you. And it's created by Original Flavour.
Short story. On Monday the 21st of June 1948, the Empire Windrush ship arrived in Great Britain from the Caribbean. 492 passengers came from Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago and other Caribbean islands. They all paid £28 fare to travel in the hope for work and creating a better life for their families. Their wives and children later joined the men once they could afford to send them over. Caribbeans found themselves excluded from many social areas in the UK, and Great Britain was seen as the mother country that many had expected to be welcomed, especially after 10,000 West Indians volunteered to fight in the War for Britain. However, many were greeted with racism and hardship upon arrival, making it extremely difficult to find jobs though some were qualified or skilled. Jobs were often restricted to out-of-hour low-paid cleaning roles. However, the Caribbeans had a strong identity, community, spirit and faith, which helped them overcome times of difficulties and make a life in the UK, gradually building acquaintances with fellow British people. Some of the first daytime roles for Caribbeans were with the NHS and London Transport. The impact of the Windrush generation is unmeasurable, bringing the Caribbean spirit into Britain and making Caribbean culture more accepted in British society. They paved the way for so many others. Windrush generation, thank you.
Thank you. So we know there's still much to be done to make things right and fair. And in that short video, it showed the journey story, the people that came over, but also the richness in society. And we want to sort of amplify the positivity and make society even richer, more inclusive. So on that, we're delighted to be sharing one of our solutions today to help tackle race inequality. And I'm sure some people from that community were involved in helping create this solution. You here today are the change makers that will drive the much needed change. So thank you for all your precious and valuable time this afternoon. And we know there's a lot of other Windrush celebrations going on. Next slide, please. I'm Javid Thomas, co-founder of Race Equality Matters, along with Raj Tulsiani of Green Park, a global talent advisory firm. I'm also the co-founder of the Collaboratory, which creates collaborations to tackle societal issues that matter the most to us. Today, we're joined by project manager Donna Robertson, and we have the rest of the Race Equality Matter team behind the scenes. We're also joined by the fantastic guest speakers, Martine and Nicola Hinton, from REM Safe Space Trailblazer organization, Vale of Glamorgan, and we'll introduce them a bit later. Next slide. Before we start, a bit of housekeeping and some accessibility support. We acknowledge and continue to look to help make our events more accessible. Closed caption has been enabled in this main session, and we have recommended a solution for the virtual breakout rooms should you need it. You'll find a link in the chat and we'll share it again later. If you feel uncomfortable joining a breakout session, then you can opt not to join it. It's optional, but the more that go in there, the richer they'll be. The event is being recorded, but not the breakout session. So there's chat and mouse rules there. And it will be the main event will be available for you to access later along with the slides. Your sound will be auto-disabled in the main room. So please share your ideas and questions in the chat and we'll do our best to respond. The chat will be extremely busy following the breakout sessions. So a heads up, in case you're using some accessible tools, it can be a bit noisy. So to be mindful of that. Please tweet and post social media content during and after the event to help us grow and reach and ultimately make a greater impact. Next slide, thank you. Today's session will be showing you how to run Safe Space Plus. It's a chance to collaborate and learn from each other and ask the experts the questions. There will be polls. Donna will do a top line walkthrough of the various key steps in the How to Do It Right guide, which many of you helped create with us. There will be collaborative discussion groups and top tips shared. And we'll also hear from and get top tips from, as I said, Martine and Nicola, who have implemented Safe Space Plus. We will have a Q&A and bonus opportunity for those who can stay for an additional 5 minutes for your input into the Trailblazer concept that our Trailblazer lead, Anna, will be leading on. And that's us, again, it'd be great if some of you can stay for that. Next slide, please. Just in case you're new to Race Equality Matters, and we can see a number of you are, here's a quick introduction. We exist solely to enable impactful change. We want change by providing free tools and resources and support for race networks and other change makers in organizations across the country and beyond. We've co-created 6 impactful solutions in collaboration with those with lived experience of racial inequality. And with more in development, our solutions so far include Race Equality Week, which is the first Monday of February every year, so 5th to 11th of February, get it in your diaries. Tea Break, which was co-created by Network Rail's Cultural Fusion Network. The Big Promise, which is all about turning words into action. And My Name Is, which is all about making sure we say each other's people's name correctly. And I guess at base level 1, be inclusive of people. Next slide. And the 5-day challenge, which many of you might have been aware of, and is sort of used by thousands of organizations during Race Equality Week. It's a solution which includes a series of eye-opener questions, videos and resources to encourage change. There are 5 challenges that each take just 5 minutes, and you do them over 5 days. So there's no excuse for people or organizations not to take part. The activities are bite-sized and accessible to maximize colleagues' level of engagement. 71% think that a 5-day challenge will have an impact on race inequality in their organization, and 75% think the 5-day challenge will help people commit to tackling race inequality. And I think it's about 78% want version 2 because it was so impactful. Organizations are still implementing it. So if your organization didn't take part during Race Equality Week, you still can. Next slide, please. And of course, Safe Space Plus, the reason we're all here today. Next slide, please. We provide all these solutions and how to do it right guides and workshops free to individuals. So to remove some of the key barriers you face in tackling race inequality. All of this would not be possible without the support of our partners. Partners who, along with Green Park, are funding Race Equality Matters. A big thank you to our newest, Lloyds of London, who along with Green Park powered Race Equality Week. And a big thank you to also a co-founder of the Collaboratory and a lifetime visionary partner, BT, and other key funding partners to enable us to be free, Auto Trader, HS2, Edelman, and Network Rail. Their support means we can run Race Equality Week, and you as change makers can access all our other resources for free. If you would like to find out more how you can partner, support, get marketing opportunities, then please do get in touch. Next slide. Before we start, as regulars will know, we like to kick off with a quick poll to see a state of the nation. If you can all have a go at doing it, that'd be fantastic. And we will share the results with you afterwards if you've helped complete it. It'll take about a couple of minutes. Thank you for contributing to the poll. So as we can see here, 52% identify as an ally, 46% as ethnically diverse or appropriate. Question 2. To see who's in the room. There's a mix, 35% are senior leaders, 28% D&I leads, 14% Race Network members, 16% Race Network leads, and we have 13% HR leads. But what's great to see, 26% are other, so we've got a whole range of roles attending today for Safe Space Plus. Have you downloaded the Safe Space Plus workbook yet? 83% say not yet, and you'll hear throughout the event how important it is to have that as a tool to support you. And 15% of you, so 1 in 6, 1 in 7 of you have said yes, and 3% yes and read it, so you get the gold stars. Question 4. Have you been to Race Equality About Safe Space Plus workshop before? 94% saying no, so welcome to you all. Question 5. Has your organization implemented any of the following Race Equality Matters solutions? So the most common one is the 5-day challenge, 31% of you, 22% My Name Is, 11% Big Promise, and 6% Tea Break. Good to see 2% of you have done Safe Space Plus. Yeah, so 40% of you done none of the above, so hopefully we'll have a few converts here to take on one of the solutions going forward. Question 6. Do you think your senior leaders and managers are committed to tackling race inequality? So 47% saying yes, which is nearly half, which is great, but 47% also saying a little bit but not enough, and then 4% saying no. So still half the room, the leaders aren't committed enough. Question 7. Which of the following does your organization do on an ongoing basis with EXCO senior leaders when it comes to tackling race? So 33% have uncomfortable conversations, 34% have courageous discussions, 49% take action focused on tackling race inequality, which is the important thing about Safe Space Plus, 12% none of the above, and 20% not sure. So a mix there, but what we want is 100% to have the first 3 items there. Question 8. How is your organization addressing race inequality? So only 27% focus on action, not just words, so less than 1 in 3. And the rest is 55% talks and does a little bit of action, but obviously not enough action. 5% just talks, 5% does very little, and 1% does nothing. So again, Safe Space Plus and our solutions could help organizations move them stats. Question 9. How often do you believe microaggressions occur in your organization? So happens a lot, happens daily, happens quite often is 42%. But if we take into account the not sures and the can't answer, as not sure what they are, it becomes 54%. Happens rarely is only 8%. But if we look at those affected, it is as high as 87–80%. So yes, similar stats as it was last year. Question 10, how often are racial microaggressions called out by colleagues? This is where we see about active allyship. So looking at these stats, quite often and regularly is only 14%. The rest is 30% occasionally, 25% hardly ever, and 3% never. Again, if we take out the not sure stat, then the hardly ever or never becomes 39%. So approaching 4 in 10 times is hardly or never called out. And we'll be talking about that later in today's session. Thank you all for contributing. And yeah, on to the next part. So what is Safe Space Plus? I think we'd like to share a quick video. It hasn't been rebranded with Safe Space Plus, but the messaging is still correct. Once we have budget, we'll be able to pay for a revised video. So if we can just show the video, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. I can't hear. Can others? Okay. Okay.
Race Equality Matters provides organisations with the tools, resources and skills to implement them. Race Equality Matters is not a talking shop. We inspire change by creating solutions and working with organisations to implement them. One of those solutions is Safe Space. Safe Space is a 2-hour facilitated dialogue between 3 to 5 senior leaders or ExCo and up to 10 ethnic minority colleagues. Safe Space will provide a protected environment to enable brave conversations in order to generate action, remain focused and achieve a meaningful outcome driven by the people it matters to. Safe Space will help you achieve facilitated meaningful dialogue between ethnic minority employees and their senior leaders who must be willing to make a commitment and take action to address some of the key issues raised. Safe Space is split into 3 distinct parts. 1. Inform and educate. 2. Understand the issues. And 3. Take action. It is more than just a conversation. We also run Safe Space workshops and have a How to Do It Right guide which focuses on finding the right people to participate and create a safe and constructive environment for these conversations to take place. This guide consists of 4 key phases and 11 steps with top tips and checklists to assist, as well as a focus on well-being. This guide will enable brave conversations, facilitate uncomfortable discussions, and drive meaningful change.
Okay, why the need for safe space? In a recent poll we carried out, 79% of respondents said their organization has made little, minimal, or no progress 3 years on since the murder of George Floyd. So how organizations are going about tackling race inequality needs to change. 3 years ago, many organizations and leaders were saying, we acknowledge we can do better, displaying back squares as a sign of solidarity, and the majority would have carried, and many may still carry out, what we call traditional safe spaces for their colleagues. But has it made a difference? Is it making a difference? We acknowledge and appreciate that traditional safe spaces are crucial for people to have their say space to share, to discuss, to reflect, and have support. However, safe spaces have been in existence for decades, but are they helping to create the change the way they are run? So whilst we know safe spaces are supportive and helpful to people's well-being, and we encourage they carry on in that form, there is little evidence to show it creates meaningful change in the culture and behaviours in an organisation and how ethnically diverse colleagues are treated or feel. It is clear now that marginalised groups want no more talking, but need action. Next slide, please. This is a reason for creation of Safe Space Plus, which is broken down to 3 key elements. Safe Space typically provides a framework for uncomfortable conversations, courageous discussions, and really importantly, the Race Equality Matters version Safe Space Plus has this one additional element: action has to be taken from it. When action is taken, change will follow. We believe nearly all organizations do elements of part 1 and 2, but very few do part 3. Safe Space Plus also brings together senior leaders and ethnically diverse colleagues, and you'll hear more about the reason behind that later. So does this additional part, action taken, really make any difference? Let's hear from someone at Trailblazer, Amy PLC, Kelvin, who went through it. Play the video, please. Thank you.
I work better. I'm focused. I'm driven because I can see there's something at the end of the tunnel now. Whereas before, I felt like I was just an employee. That's changing people. People, not just myself, others in the business are becoming focused. They're believing there's going to be change because there has to be.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to take you through the guide, which we created because organization was asking us for help in understanding how to successfully run Safe Space Plus. It's based on the workshops and research that collaboratory and race equality matters around in collaboration with those with lived experience. It's been created to assist the Safe Space Plus project lead, many of you here today, and potential working groups. There are 2 main points to note. First, it might sound obvious, but it is a guide. Every organization is different, so we fully expect you to adapt the steps as needed to fit your organization, but the key steps to reflect on. Secondly, and the one mandatory requirement, is to have a facilitator for your session and a focus on keeping your colleagues safe. This is one reason why we collaborated with Mental Health First Aid England for their expertise. Thank you. In the guide, we've broken down each step into consistent sections. There's a driving force. This identifies who is mainly responsible for completing the step, why the step is needed. We then draw out key points and actions for each step. We've included helpful features such as ideas, what else you could do under that tip, links to additional resources, and there are well-being alerts to remind you when it's critical to check in with colleagues. There is a checklist at the end of each step to summarize the core actions of each step. Next slide, please. Before I hand over to Donna, who will walk us through the first part of the Safe Space Plus journey, I'm delighted to introduce you to our fabulous Safe Space Plus experts, Nicola, Hinton, and Martine Coles. They are from the Vale of Glamorgan, if you can kindly unmute yourselves, which has been awarded Trailblazer status. Please, can we take down the slides? And just to let you know, the Vale of Glamorgan, often referred to as the Vale, is a county borough in the southeast of Wales. Martine is the Vulnerable Groups Manager. She has worked for the council since 2008 and started her teaching career in London in 1999. As Vulnerable Groups Manager, Martine supports and challenges schools to be ambitious for pupils in the Vale. And as mentioned, they've just come from a school talking about Windrush, and that was the pupils sharing their versions or understanding. In addition to managing a team of staff, she's the chair of the council's network called Diverse. Nicola Hinton is the corporate equality lead, and after spending time working within HR, Nicola enjoys working with the council staff networks to help a more inclusive workplace culture. So we're thrilled to have them both here today and understand that you've got more to do on the Windrush and going to share your experiences today. Nicola, you successfully implemented Safe Space Plus. With so many things you could do to address race inequality, why did you decide to implement that?
Well, I'd attended your webinars and heard about it. And at the time, we had a fairly new staff network for our ethnic minority staff called Diverse, as you've just mentioned. And it seemed like a useful and structured tool to develop that dialogue between our senior leadership team and diverse. So it just seemed to be the right thing at the right time for us.
Thank you. I have to apologize, people. I'm having trouble with some hearing my end, so I do apologize for a slight delay. Second question again to you, Nicola. Donna's about to walk everyone through an overview of the Safe Space Plus guide. How valuable did you find it?
Invaluable. And when I reviewed the resource, it was simple to use and understand, and gave you everything that you needed to confidently run an event, even if you hadn't done anything similar in the past. And I think one of the strong elements is looking after the psychological safety of those involved. We used the resources that you've made available in the guide and tailored them to reflect our circumstances. But that psychological safety statement we used in advance with those involved, made sure everybody was happy with it, talked about it in pre-meetings, referred to it at the start of our Safe Space meeting, and continued to use it. And I think that has helped everybody feel that they've been in a safe space for these discussions. It's been really helpful.
Thank you. And the 93% that haven't downloaded the guide, hopefully that encourages you to do it. So thank you so much for sharing that. So I'll now hand you over to the wonderful Donna Robertson, who for the next 5 minutes will walk through the first 2 phases and steps 1 to 7. Over to you, Donna. Thank you.
Thank you, Javed. Could we just have the first slide, please? Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. As Javed said, we're going to walk you through the key steps of the workbook. So we're going to start our journey at step 1 and phase 1. And this is all about making Safe Space Plus safe. As Nicola mentioned, you need to assure the psychological safety and well-being of the participants. They might feel vulnerable, they might feel concerned about negative repercussions in terms of their career and mental health, or how they might be judged or perceived. Our workshops have highlighted that one of the key concerns that ethnically diverse employees have about taking part is the risk of negative repercussions on their work relationships and their careers. So you might want to consult with them and ask them what concerns they have, and what would make them feel safe. So we recommend that you also create a meaningful psychological safety statement, which would be signed by the board, as this endorsement will encourage people to be honest, and you will find an example of this in the guide. So give thought also to meeting rules and behaviours. Use the Chatham House rule, which means that participants are free to use the information received, but they're not allowed to identify or affiliate anything to any of the participants. And talking about race equality issues can be really draining, and they can take a toll on mental health. It can re-traumatize or it can trigger emotions. So do ensure that participants are empowered to ask for support and check in with them before, during and after the Safe Space Plus session as well, and provide support or signpost them to further sources of support. And again, there are some examples in the resource pack as well. So next slide. So the next phase of our journey is all about finding the right people. And the first step is to find a project lead. You'll need a change maker, someone that's going to bring energy, focus, and continuity to the initiative. Look for passion, people skills, resourcefulness, someone trusted and respected, and also someone who's well connected and persistent. Brief them on Safe Space Plus so they have the right information to understand the scope of the role, and then get their agreement to be the lead and ask them what else they might need support with. Next slide. So step 3 is all about finding your senior sponsor. So research has found that having senior endorsement is a driver for success when it comes to diversity and inclusion. So they will be the person that champions Safe Space Plus and help you engage with the board and access additional resources if you need them. We recommend you approach senior leaders who have influence and authority, as well as a passion for race equality and driving change. Explain what Safe Space Plus is, its benefits, why senior leadership involvement is critical, and what is expected of them. And again, there's a template to help you do that in the guide. So next slide. At step 4, we recommend that you consult with colleagues. This is a great way to build your case for Safe Space Plus, and also to get insight into the type of questions to ask during the session, as they'll help identify key issues that could be addressed. They can also help you promote awareness of the initiative internally. Think about the questions you'll ask them, how you'll reach them, could be through your race networks or surveys, and make sure you allocate enough time to gather the information, and also remember to signpost them to additional support if necessary as well. So next slide. So step 5 is all about securing senior board buy-in. So the board have the power to make change happen, and that's why they are essential to the Safe Space Plus initiative. They'll need to know the benefits of running Safe Space Plus, what it is, who needs to be involved. Ideally, 3 to 5 board ExCo members would participate, what's required, and next steps. So ask for a decision to run Safe Space Plus, as well as their agreement to participate, and importantly, a commitment to take action on at least one of the key issues that have been raised. Next slide. So when you've got their agreement, step 6 is about creating a task and finish group to help you inspire, shape, drive, and implement Safe Space Plus. The aim is to create a diverse group, and we recommend that you also appoint a chair who will help focus and coordinate the group's efforts. It's a good idea also to draft terms of reference so everyone's clear on the group's responsibilities. And again, there's a template for you in the guide. Next slide, please. Step 7 of the journey is about finding your employee participants. So ideally, you'll need about 10 ethnically diverse colleagues. And you should also consider a representative and diverse group of people. Think about the selection criteria, the process, and how to reach them. You'll find an outline of key things they might want to know and messages that you might want to use to engage them in the pack. And when you've selected them, please also remember to signpost them to additional support. And that's it for me for now. I'm going to hand back over to Javed.
Thank you, Donna. And my sound is back. Silly on-off switch. Nicola, one of the questions we're often asked is, how do you go about getting buy-in from senior leaders and other stakeholders?
Well, for us, I was able to have a conversation with my manager, who was very supportive of the idea, and agreed that what we needed to do was write a report for our senior leadership team to get buy-in from them, which is what I did. I outlined the initiative, explained how the meeting would work, emphasised that if they were going to take part in this conversation, they needed to commit to action, so that they were very clear about that from the outset. And fortunately, both the chief executive and the rest of the senior leadership team were on board with it. So we got, had the all clear, and we were able to start getting organised. And at that point, I started working closely with Martine as the diverse chair.
Thank you. And how do you do it? And who else was involved in Safe Space Plus?
Well, as I say, once we'd got the senior leadership team on board, then it was very much a question of working with Martine, because she had the contact with our ethnic minority colleagues. And what we did then was get together to discuss it. So we got together with members of diverse, talked about the structure of the meeting, worked through the actions that they would want to focus on in the meeting. So it wasn't something that they were coming up with on the spot in the actual meeting, and talked about the various ways they could take part, because we needed to make sure they were confident to do that. We chose to have a hybrid meeting so that those that were confident enough felt able to come along and to talk face to face, and those who were less confident might have chosen to contribute from online. So it's very much working with colleagues in advance of the meeting to make sure that everybody was prepared.
Actually, Martine, can I just throw one out to yourself? So it was actually, there's a lot of initiatives to engage, ethnically diverse colleagues. Did you find how Nicola just went through and explained what you're trying to do, that was attractive for the community and colleagues?
It was and it wasn't. It was, as in, the space meant that we could be heard, but also it was scary. So yes, it was what Nicola described it as, but some of the members of the Network Diverse were scared because these were their bosses, these were their directors. So they needed to be emotionally ready to come. And that's where the resources helped us, so that yes, as Nicola described, we engaged, but we needed to make sure that we were emotionally ready to be part of Safe Space.
Brilliant, thank you. And just on that one, the guide does talk about, and actually, to be fair, both sides are nervous, and because they've never done it before. But I think once organizations done it, they realize the richness of it to want to do it again. So thank you for sharing that, Martine. Before we cover the next steps we now want to give you all the opportunity to collaborate amongst yourselves and also share ideas in discussion group. The theme is, how will you go about engaging senior sponsor and board EXCO members? So how can you get senior leaders to get involved in this? Because we know that is a challenge for many organizations, and Nicola shared her story of how they did it. So in a minute, you'll automatically be placed into a breakout room. And I'd say, Sam, if we could have about 23 rooms, please. And you'll get an opportunity to get ideas from each other. Discussion group is just to help you start thinking about it. There are no wrong answers or suggestions. We recommend you appoint a chair just to help manage the time and give everyone a chance to have a say. If the likes of myself or one of the team or Nicola, Martine join, we're not there to chair the thing or give all the answers. We're there to listen and learn as well. So this is a chance for that. So what we will also do is give you a 1-minute warning when you go there. Again, if for different reasons you don't feel comfortable going to a breakout group, then please do stay on this side. And I said it'll be about 8 minutes. So Sam, if we can put people in the group, that'd be fantastic. Right, so thank you all. Really interesting group I had, and actually one of the things was actually just asked, is sometimes people don't know who to go to, who's going to be empathetic at in senior leadership or top table, etc. But the experiences from in our group, and I know it's not always the case, so they did ask someone, or they actually had a champion, they've left and they were a bit nervous who's going to take over, they've gone and asked someone else, and they've been empathetic. And the beauty about Safe Space, here's something that works. Why do all these other things when there's no evidence of them working? Here's something works if you're serious about it. So, and quite a lot of people just want to be asked, how can we help? And this is meaningful. So what would be quite good, and if we just give everyone a minute just to throw into the chat ideas and thoughts of how to get senior leaders and senior sponsors and EXCO on board. What we will do for you all, we'll collate it and then we'll share it with you later in July now, and it'll all be anonymous. So you'll have this wonderful list of how to engage senior leaders, and I'm sure there'll be some great top tips in there for you. So hopefully, there's 200 of us here today. If we can have at least 50 ideas, then there'll be 50 we can share with you. And as someone says, this is incredible free consultancy that you can all gain by collaborating with each other. I'll hand you over straight to Donna, who'll go through phase 3 and steps 8 and 9. Thank you, Donna.
Brilliant, thanks, Javid. So now you have a task and finish group in place to help plan it. Step 8 is all about getting ready, and there are a few things to think about in advance. So Javid mentioned earlier that the one mandatory element is having a good facilitator. So you're going to need someone who's going to be able to manage the conversation sensitively and robustly while ensuring the session is kept on track. Could be someone internal, or if resources permit, an external facilitator could be used as well. So encourage EXCO board members to think about the questions they want to ask of ethnically diverse colleagues. And remember, it's not just about what questions they're going to ask, but also how they're going to ask them. And it's also important for all participants to prepare in advance of the session, so you all get the most value out of it as possible. You'll need to think about things like agendas, running orders and logistics. And again, there's more in the resource pack on that. So next slide. So step 9 is all about running the session. So we've suggested 2 hours to cover a minimum of 3 key issues. So it's a really good idea to have an agenda with timings, and also allow some time for introductions as well. The facilitator will keep the conversation on track, ensuring that there are fair opportunities for everyone to speak and contribute. They'll focus the discussion on the key issues, exploring why they are key issues, what the evidence is for them, and what it would mean if the organisation was to take action to address them. Remember to summarise the key points and agree key steps. And next steps will depend on your discussion. It could be that you agree to collate more information and evidence, or you could actually be ready to go straight to the next step, which is for the board to discuss the key issues and decide which ones to take action on. So David, back to you now.
Thank you. So back on to Nicola and Martine, if we can spotlight them and if they can unmute themselves. A couple of questions for Martine, but firstly, Nicola, actually, we get lots of questions about how to select the right facilitator. How did you choose your facilitator and how did you brief them?
Well, we didn't have the money to buy in facilitation, so we chose someone from within the organisation who had facilitation skills and experience. The guide gives a clear outline of what's expected of the facilitator, so I used this to provide them with some written guidance, and we also met to discuss how to facilitate the meeting. And it was actually quite useful that I'd done this level of briefing with the facilitator, because I had to step in at the last minute and do it myself as they had a crash on the way to the meeting. So be prepared is one of the tips that we might offer you.
So basically what you've just heard is if you can't find facilitator, Nicola Hinton of the Vale, she's available. No, 100%, that's not okay. But thank you. But again, I think just going through the guide, obviously it's helped you prepare for it, and so well done. Thank you for that. Martine, how did you brief all parties before the Safe Space Plus session yourself?
What we did a pre-meet with the members of Diverse. And when we did that pre-meet, there was a real focus on the psychological safety resources from Race Equality Matters, because we needed to be sure that it was emotionally safe, what I said before. But what was really heartening from the group was the fact that this psychological safety statement was signed by the managing director. So it really was what goes on tour stays on tour type conversations. And also as part of that psychological safety, we looked at useful resources like the council's Care First. So all those emotional safety nets, we made sure everybody had them to access if they felt they needed to. So that pre-meet was what we did before, so that way the questions could be discussed in a safe space before we went into the big safe space.
No, brilliant. And as Donna said, and you both said, it's all about the preparation. And I think that's why it might go wrong sometimes. It's just, let's just do this, it's important. It's all rushed. So the important thing, I guess, or one of the important things, Martine, what happened actually during the Safe Space Plus session with the senior leaders?
I think because the members had identified their priorities, they were ready. And because they were ready, that helped facilitate an open, honest dialogue. And it helped the nerves on both sides. And what happened in the meeting, the unconscious bias was explored on both sides, but it was the open and honest dialogue was in a really constructive way. And what we felt as members of Diverse was that after a very brave discussion, we had two big actions that, I'll be honest with you, as the chair, when they were put to me before, I thought, I'm not sure our directors across the council are going to do this big promise. And what was heartening, after listening to different stories from around the table, they were really supportive of the two big actions about mandatory race awareness and unconscious bias training, and about improving the visibility of colleagues from the global majority.
No, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. We'll now move into our second breakout session. And the question for this is, and sort of Martine touched upon it earlier, and I guess colleagues, from your race networks, ethnically diverse colleagues may be nervous or concerned about taking part in it. So I guess what we'd like you to do is go into breakout. How would you encourage your ethnically diverse colleagues to participate? So we know organizations that have done it, it's made a huge difference. But without, let's say you've nailed getting senior leadership involved, but without the race network or ethnic diverse colleagues get involved, it won't work. So if you can, you'll have about 8 minutes to just share tips with each other of how you'd encourage ethnically diverse colleagues to participate when there may be a tiny bit of concern or resistance. Okay, Sam, if we can put people into 19 groups, that would be fantastic. Thank you. And again, we'll take your own notes in the thing. If you don't want to go into the breakout session, you do not need to. Thank you. So join your groups. Hi all, thank you. I think there's a couple of things to say actually. So just one, there was a lot of what I had in our group. There's a lot of maybe some nervousness and everything, and I think Martine and someone said it's all about trust. And I think so. A couple of things to do. One is actually, it's worth looking maybe at Trailblazers if Safe Space isn't ready. Not Trailblazers, I beg your pardon. Tea Break, because Tea Break is all about hearing the voices of the community in a slightly different way, but over a period of time. Quite a lot of organizations started to do Tea Break and then go on to the Safe Space Plus. So that's what we're thinking about. And the other thing, just to say, in the Safe Space Plus, the way we do it, it's not say, me as an individual say my problems or my issues or my thing. Actually, quite often the 10 that Donna mentioned that go into the group are representing the wider organization. So we're hearing things that microaggressions are swept under the table, or what we're finding, we're doing well at entry level, but Black women tend to leave within 6 months. So in effect, you're the voice for the wider community, to not to make yourself as vulnerable on that side. So, and again, there's information in the guide, but I do think for organizations that might not be quite ready yet, do go on to as I said, a look at Tea Break. That could be helpful. Okay, what might be helpful again is if everyone could just go in the chat, if we give it a minute to put their thoughts and ideas of how to maximize participation of their ethnically diverse colleagues, and definitely, what Martine touched upon, there is a lot of nervousness, and I think what we will do is share these tips, and I think trust, and then actually seeing something different, action taken, is really important. So yeah, we'll give you all a minute to do that, so we can capture it and then share it with you all. Again, it'll all be anonymous when it comes back to you. Okay, so rebuilding trust, so not even just trust, but rebuilding it, seeing meaningful action. Absolutely. What we have found, organizers have done it. Once they've done it for the first time, then they've got a wider community lining up to take part because they've seen action taken. Accountability and transparency we've seen, so thank you. Okay, so what we'll now do is I'll now hand you back to Donna, who's on phase 4 and step 10. So we're the home stretch now. Donna.
Thanks, Javed. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so we're now on the phase 4 and step 10. This is a really crucial element of Safe Space Plus, and it's what gives it the plus. And it's all about taking action. So the board exco needs to discuss the key issues raised during the session and decide which ones they're going to act on. And then we recommend that the Safe Space Plus participants meet with the board to hear which issues will be addressed, and communication is really key now. And importantly, ethnically diverse colleagues must be involved in the task and finish group set up to address the key issues as well. And this is based on feedback from our workshops with ethnically diverse employees. Next slide. Oh, looks as though someone's done a little scribble on my slides.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know where that's
that.
come from. It's not from me, and I'm not sure where it's come from, so I do apologise.
They didn't look like that at the beginning, but anyway, hopefully you can still read them.
That's someone taking action. There you are.
Exactly. So step 11 is our final step, and it's all about monitoring progress, and it's absolutely critical. So to understand if anything's changed, you need to measure the impact of the actions taken. So we recommend that you review the Safe Space Plus experience with colleagues, track progress on action and impacts. And finally, please, please, please do update us on the progress that you make as well, because we would love to feature your organisation as a case study and also showcase you at events like this, sharing your experiences, because we are all about collaboration and community. So that's all the steps covered. Over to you, Javed.
Thank you. In a moment, we will open up for some Q&As, which Donna, Martine and Nicola can help answer. Before that, a couple of final questions to Martine, actually. If you can unmute yourself, Martine, thank you. We always want to focus on impact. What was the impact of Safe Space Plus session, and how did you follow up?
The 2 actions were the training, as I've mentioned, and about the visibility. Now, when Nicola and I met beforehand, we felt that, what can we say? What was the impact? But then we thought about how far we'd come in terms of the actions. So one of the actions about training, 62 senior leaders in our council have had race awareness and unconscious bias training, and that includes directors, senior leaders, and just managers. So I think corporately, that commitment, seeing that being rolled out by HR, not by Nicola and I, so it was a council function, not us. And then what came from that was in education, the director and the chief exec talked about professional learning for schools, and that professional learning has been rolled out for schools. And if there's a name who delivers really good training is Rachel Clark, and she's done some action research with a group of schools so we can have deep change. So what's the impact? We've had deep change in some of our schools and also across the council. And in terms of visibility, we talked about now we've had the safe space. The managers and the grown-ups, they can't say they didn't know what racism is. They didn't know about microaggressions. So the visibility is something that's taken time, but what the safe space did, it made sure that allies and employees from the global majority felt seen and heard. So for us as a group, yes, we felt it's about time, but the impact for us on a human level is that we definitely feel seen and heard as employees and other colleagues as allies.
Thank you. And actually, that seen and heard is such a powerful word, and I've heard it from many other people that have taken part in other organisations. The first time we've been seeing, I'm no longer invisible. And actually, they say, you know, even the CEOs coming up to them, they are now there, if that makes sense. Martine, final question. What 3 top tips would you give someone thinking of implementing Safe Space?
Okay, I feel like I'm working on commission for Race Equality Matters, but using the guidance is key. Tweak it, make it your own. So top tip, use the guidance, tweak it, make it your own. The second tip is about perseverance. This takes time and commitment, but perseverance is key. And the one that is really important, don't do it alone. Don't fly solo. Find a buddy, find an ally. This is emotionally hard work. So I have an ally. I have Nicola and I, we go to meetings together, but don't do it on your own. So 3 top tips: use the guidance, persevere, and find a friend.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. We'll go to Q&A in a sec, but before that, can we just launch a poll just to get feedback from people on how to help make these events more impactful for you, and also to know what your thinking is. And there is one about action yourselves. When would you likely to run it in your organizations? Because we provide these events for free, as I said, Martine and Nicola on a fantastic commission of 0% of what we make in these events, which is 0, but make it worth all our time by taking action yourselves. So thank you. If the poll can come up, please. Thank you all for taking part in the final poll. Fantastic to see 92% of you would recommend today's event to others. The 7% who are not sure, we'd love to hear how we can change your thinking in the future, but we're always willing to learn and make our events more impactful for you all. Question 2, in comparison to a traditional safe space, how effective would you rate Safe Space Plus in tackling race inequality? So 3% see less effective, 64% significantly more effective, or same and significantly more effective is 98%. So yeah, with the majority saying it'll be significantly more effective, hopefully gives you the confidence to try to implement it. Question 3. From today's event, what was helpful? So 80% hearing from the experts and Trailblazers, Vale of Glamorgan, 76% the walk through the guide, which we'll be recording and providing separately for you. Half of you found the collaborative discussions helpful, and half the Safe Space Plus information video. And again, that will be provided for you. Question 4. Do you think Safe Space Plus will help tackle race inequality in your organisation? I said we're all about focus on solutions, but importantly, they have to make an impact. So as you can say, a catalyst for change, a great deal or significant impact. 58% feel it will make a real impact. 22% not sure, so maybe I can understand you might not be able to answer the question until you've tried it or looked into it further, but hopefully you'll go into the positive side in due course. How confident are you now in being able to implement Safe Space Plus? So it's great to see 57% of you fairly confident or very confident, and 38% a little confident and would like a bit more support, and we'll share that with you after. When do you think you will look to run Safe Space Plus? Because as I said, we're all about action, and it's great to see 30% of you will be, well, 35% actually of you will be looking between now and Black History Month, 9% between November and January, 9% during Race Equality Week, and then 37% of you will, but not sure when. So that's 90% of you, are looking at doing it, and 10% unlikely to run it, which we appreciate, but would love to hear what might be holding you back. Question 7. How easy do you think it will be to get your seniors on board with Safe Space Plus? Fairly easy, and very easy. It's great to see it's 75% and 25% sadly with difficulty. So maybe if your organizations, it might not be the right time, but one of our other solutions like tea break might be useful. So again, do look at that. Would your organization pay for support from Race Equality Matters to support you in Safe Space Plus? We appreciate 20% of you are not decision makers, but 5% said yes, and 13% would like to find out more, and 24% so maybe. So we will be in touch with you to show you how we may be able to support, if that'll help you get it over the line. And like I said, every organisation we've spoken to that's run Safe Space Plus has made a real difference. Question 9. Safe Space Plus will help your organisation. 64% have uncomfortable conversations, 61% have courageous discussions, and 66% take meaningful action to make an impact. And I think that last one's really crucial. That's the Safe Space Plus. So 2 in 3 of you believe Safe Space Plus will help you take action. And the final question, what of Race Equality Matters other activities may you be interested in? So it's great to see finding out more about Trailblazers, 43%, applying to be a judge, 12%, 15% of you applying to be a Trailblazer, 24% inputting into a Race Equality Matters solution, which we'll share with you soon. 24% posting jobs on the jobs board, and again, we'll be in touch with yourself soon on that. So thank you all for contributing, and yeah, as we come to a wrap up, if we can go into the chat and put your questions there. I'll go to Nicola on this one. Does it have to be 3 senior leaders involved in a session? I have an engaged exec team and could involve more. I actually, Nicola, do you want to give your take, and maybe Donna wants to add on that as well? Yeah,
I would say you need to carefully balance it, because you don't want to outnumber the other people involved or for people to feel too overwhelmed. So we probably had 5 or 6, and we had equal, at least equal to that, but probably more people from our diverse network there. So it depends what works for your organisation, but I think people have to be comfortable having the conversation.
I think the most important thing is the reason we say 3 to 5 and 10 ethnic, we think the balance should be clearly more ethnically diverse colleagues in the room, because the balance of power, and not to feel intimidated or overwhelmed. So I think it's to help the community feel there's more of us here, and be a bit more comfortable on that. But it's a great question. Someone's asked, maybe I'll ask this to Martine. I want to do this, but I feel like I'm the wrong race to lead anything. What would you advise?
I would say be an active ally. I think because something came up in the chat where they said they're the only one maybe in the organisation, the team. And if that's the case, you can't magic up employees that don't exist. So what I would say is being an active ally is everybody's responsibility for different things. So I think it's better to have allies than no voice at all. So there is no wrong race to start these conversations. What is what is worse is doing nothing and standing still. So it's an active process, it's not a passive process. So go be an ally is a lovely thing to do, because sometimes people from the global majority in our organisation, they just didn't feel comfortable to speak up. They were in the room, but they didn't want to speak up. So therefore, having allies there to speak up started that conversation. So there's no wrong way to start this conversation. I don't like using slogans from things, but just do it, from the words of Nike. Just do it, give it a try, and use Race Equality Matters to coach you, because they really helped us.
Thank you. That's great. A few people have similar sort of vein of question. We have very limited diversity. How do we begin to have these discussions without putting pressure on a few individuals? And I think someone said we haven't got enough people from the ethnic diverse community. Can I ask you that one, Martine, as well, please?
Yes, I would say, as somebody who's often the only person of colour in a room for many meetings, I want my allies to speak up, really. So, and the only way allies can feel comfortable speaking up is for everyone to do some learning, really, so that they are comfortable to speak up, because you don't know what you don't know. So how do we support allies? We have conversations, we have open, honest conversations, and sometimes both sides will say things that cause hurt, but if you know you're coming from a good place, you can mend that hurt. So what would happen if you have very few or no people of colour in your organisation? Do some homework and then speak up and be an ally, especially for those people that aren't able to speak up, perhaps because they don't even think your organisation is a bit of them, really. So in order to create change, we need active allies, not passive allies.
Oh, fantastic. Another question, I'm going to go to Nicola on this. And there's how long should these dialogues occur? And I'm going to ask you, how often do you run Safe Space Plus?
I can't remember when we had our first one. It was maybe back in October or something like that, the year before last, I think.
Yeah, so we've had two. It feels like they've blended into one.
So we had our initial one, and the chief executive in particular really welcomed the conversation and wondered why we hadn't done it before. And we've had a second one as a follow-up meeting to discuss progress. And by that time, that had given us the opportunity to put into practice some of the things that had happened. Now, we did plan to have another one at April, but Martine and I felt that actually we weren't sure that significant enough progress had been made since. And we've held back on that while we kind of regroup and see what's going on. And gather some information about what progress has been made since. So we haven't set it in stone. I think the last meeting we had, the chief executive thought that we should have them about 3 times a year, was it, Martine? So yes. The door is very much open to us having regular meetings, and that's the important thing. Whether we hold back on one, now and again, or push forward with one because that's the right thing to do, I think we'll play that by ear, but we will continue to have them regularly.
There's loads of questions here, and I appreciate that. What I can suggest to everyone, if you go onto our website, there's two places you might want to look at. If you go to Trailblazers, there's a few organizations that have delivered on Safe Space Plus, and it gives them their case study to see what they did. And also, if you go onto our events page and just type in Safe Space, and then it'll come up with all our previous events, and then there'll be mini videos or mini interviews with people like Martine and Nicola that we pulled out. So again, you can see different ways organization done it, and I think that will answer a lot of the questions some of you have, especially I think a good one is what would you do differently? I'm just conscious of time on that side, so thank you. If we just what we'll do is we'll just let you know what's in the pipeline, what's coming up, and then if anyone can stay behind and support Anna and I on Trailblazers, it'll take 5 minutes. That'd be fantastic. Next slide, please. So I think so we've got Trailblazers. The third round of Trailblazers will be announced on the 5th of May at an event. So again, go onto our website to find out about Trailblazers. It's more than the award. This is organizations that are doing meaningful impact, and there's an opportunity to be an independent judge. You have to identify as ethnically diverse or equivalent. Here's some successful Trailblazer organizations. Next slide, please. And here's some more, which is fantastic. So thank you for that. Oh, there's Vale of Glamorgan there. Isn't that fantastic? Brilliant. And then after, so we got get ready for Black History Month. So give you plenty of time to collaborate and learn from each other what you're planning to do. It's a virtual event, and we will be announcing the next round of Trailblazers, 5th of July. Next slide, please. And then after the summer break is Race Network Leaders and Future Leaders event is in September. So do come to that. And in Black History Month, we may be doing an event on intersectionality with a focus on race and disability, if that's of interest. Again, if you want to find or access more diverse talent, please use our jobs board. And contributions on that financially to support our work and help us keep going. Next slide, please. We've done Q&As. Next slide, please. Okay, so big thank you, as I said, to our we're able to provide this for free for yourselves at the moment because of these fantastic partners that are helping us, and then also brilliant people like Nicola and Martine who do provide their time for free. But I think we're trying to pass it on. So hopefully someone else talks next time that was here today, and it was again Nicola and Martine's great work. You can see in the thank you in the chats how brilliant you both were. So must take our hats off to you both. So you're trailblazers and change makers in more than one way. So thank you for that. So have a good day, everyone else. And as I said, if anyone stays behind, we can see if you. I'll now introduce you to Anna, who's our Trailblazer lead, and she just wants to run a couple of things past you. Nicola and Martine, I know if you have to go, please do go, but you're very welcome to say. Everyone else, have a good afternoon.